26 knots down the angle. 106 interval is a rhino at 5. Sure, sir. 207 on flat path on course 1 mile. Sure, sir. 207 on flat path on course.
On the 29th of August 2010, the British Royal Fleet auxiliary vessel Fort Victoria departed from the United Kingdom to begin a 40-month deployment. For the first year of this deployment, Victoria was engaged in maritime security operations in the Persian Gulf and the Arabian Sea, before she transitioned in September 2011 to conducting counter-piracy patrols in the Indian Ocean. It was in this capacity that, on the 10th of October 2011, she received a distress signal from a merchant ship called the Montecristo. The MV Montecristo, which was an Italian-flagged bulk carrier, was sailing from the UK to Vietnam when it was boarded by 11 pirates, approximately 1,000 kilometers off the coast of Somalia. Immediately on receiving the distress signal, R.F.A. Fort Victoria, alongside the US Navy frigate, the USS Liveth, sailed at full speed to the bulk carrier's location. The US frigate arrived on the scene first, at some time on the 11th of October, and began gathering intelligence on the situation, which it then passed on to Victoria, who arrived in the area a short while later. From their ships, the British and American sailors could see the pirates freely roaming around the Montecristo, but there was no sign of the 23 crew members, from which nothing had been heard from for just over 30 hours. But then, as a Royal Navy report details, a member of the Montecristo's crew climbed into the funnel and threw a message in a bottle over the side. Thanks to a flashing device to reveal its location, that bottle was picked up by the US frigate, and the message passed on to Fort Victoria. The message said, "There are 11 pirates on board with automatic weapons and rocket-propelled grenades. All communication on the ship are down, and the crew are safe in the engine room and have control of the engines and steering." With confirmation that all 23 crew members were safe, R.F.A. Fort Victoria launched her onboard Lynx helicopter, assigned to 815 Naval Air Squadron, whilst a detachment of Royal Marines, supported by a Royal Navy boarding party, loaded up onto a couple of rigged inflatable boats, an offshore raiding craft, and headed on out to the Montecristo. However, as Captain Jerry Northwood, commanding officer of the Royal Navy's Counter-Piracy Task Group, later explained, at that point the pirates got the message and came out on deck and surrendered. Our boarding teams were then able to go on board, detain the pirates, and search the ship to make sure there were no pirates hiding. Then we got a message to the crew to tell them everything was safe. With all 11 pirates having been arrested, the Royal Marines conducted a thorough search of the ship prior to giving the bulk carrier the all clear to resume on her way to Vietnam. Meanwhile, elsewhere in the Indian Ocean, the British Type 23 frigate, HMS Somerset, was likewise on patrol conducting counter-piracy and maritime security operations. Having left the UK in August 2011, HMS Somerset had only just arrived in the region when she was alerted to a suspicious fishing vessel. Subsequently, Somerset deployed her Merlin helicopter from 829 Naval Air Squadron to shadow and gather intelligence on the small craft. Once convinced that the vessel had been hijacked, the frigate's commanding officer, Commander Paul Bristow, authorised a team of Royal Marines to board the craft. Like with the MV Montecristo, the Royal Marines faced no opposition on their way in and were able to swiftly climb aboard the vessel, where they found a handful of Somali pirates holding several Pakistani men hostage. Despite the nature of the situation, the Marines were able to apprehend the pirates, seize their weapons, and free the hostages without incident. Thus, within a matter of hours, the Royal Navy's Counter-Piracy Task Group has successfully freed 2 hijacked vessels from Somali pirates, and it would be a series of operations that culminated on the 14th of October 2011. On that day, HMS Somerset linked up with R.F.A. Fort Victoria to try and locate the mothership belonging to the pirates that had stormed the MV Montecristo 4 days earlier. In the early morning of the 14th of October, Somerset's Merlin helicopter was on a routine patrol over the Indian Ocean when it identified a dhow being accompanied by 2 skiffs. It was quickly acknowledged that this was a small pirate task group, with Commander Paul Bristow commenting, "The pirate group was located by Somerset's Merlin helicopter at first light, and the boarding teams were brought to immediate notice, while Somerset closed with the group." With Somerset on one side, Victoria on the other, and the Merlin circling up above, the pirate vessel was effectively surrounded, but nonetheless, it continued to sail undeterred. In the meantime, a joint Royal Marine Royal Navy boarding party loaded up onto one offshore raiding craft and one rigged inflatable boat and headed out to the vessel. Commanding this boarding party was Royal Marine Captain Rod Yap, who recalls, "Approaching the dhow before boarding was quite tense. Through my weapon's sight I could see dark figures moving in the shadows on the bridge." Whilst the boarding party were closing up to the objective, the overhead Merlin helicopter fired a burst of their 50 cal machine gun across the bow of the pirate vessel, which was followed moments later by the Marines commencing their boarding. Climbing up the side and reaching the deck of the dhow, the Marines found 4 well-equipped Somali pirates who, like before, put up no resistance and were taken into custody. A further search of the vessel found an additional 20 Pakistani crewmen who were being held hostage by the pirates. Commenting on the recapture of the dhow, a Royal Navy report documents that the Royal Marines found ample evidence that the vessel was being used as a launch pad for pirate attacks. There was a large cache of boarding ladders, weapons, a second attack skiff, and equipment from a previously attacked ship. The 4 pirates who were apprehended were handed over to the Italian authorities on suspicion of their involvement in the attack on the MV Montecristo.